Have you ever connected with something on a deep personal level before? Whether it's like a game or a show that you watch that you sort of like just say, wow, that's literally me. Growing up, I had some of that, but very recently, I never had that to the extent of what Wednesday brought to me. It was nights before Christmas back at 2022, and my mom was out doing stuff. But she left this show on when I was making dinner, and it gave rise to my cosplays and content creation again. In fact, it even influenced my career path. And I never really made it known why I love the show until I said this on May the 9th when I posted this onto TikTok. After looking at these comments again and talking to some of my pals in the cosplay community in the Wednesday fandom, this might be the first time I'm mentioning this. And I know this is probably going to sound out of left field, but I want to work on Wednesday. Yes, you heard that correctly. That is my goal. I want to work on Wednesday. But why am I doing this? Why this show in particular? This question always pops up to me as I am going on this little expedition of my career, and honestly I can't blame you for thinking that. But the truth is, I can relate to the show. Sure, this is as vague as I can get. I mean, I don't know much about how to hook an audience with these types of videos. But as I continue to accept myself more and more about who I am every day, I can't help but share these struggles of the outcast to the world. And it's thanks to what I grew up with. Autism. This is honestly going to be one of the most personal videos I make, and I ain't joking when I'm saying that. I wish I could have made this video shorter as well, but in all honesty, everything is sort of connected here. And when you watch and listen to this, you'll notice why I want to work on this show. Not just as a fan, but a person who wants to make an impact thanks to its story. I have never seen a show that makes me so inspired to just get out there, to be who I am, to put myself out there that fuels my passion. And on top of that, I have never really had this much connection to it. Every time I rewatch it, I find these connections to be stronger and stronger. I may not be a rainbow she-wolf that stands 17, or a typical lonely goth with an umbrella that covers her head in the rain. I am not a siren or a wild gorgon. Freak, monster, fill in my favorite marginalized group here, so to say. This isn't just another fan video about the show or a fan that just wants in. It's about me, an outcast to society. And I can resonate with a lot of things with the show, who wants to contribute to a story that embraces uniqueness, challenges stereotypes, and wants to be a part of this creepy and kooky adventure at Nevermore Academy. This show is a catalyst for everything, and as a real-life neurodivergent outcast trying to make ends meet in society, this is how one show impacted not only my career path, but how this show impacted me to share and go for this dream, and how I achieved it. This is a dream that I want to be a part of. This is Wednesday. So, Wednesday. After rewatching this again and again, I feel like I just can't get enough of it. And to be honest, can you blame me for it? Just look at the amount of cosplay content that I have made with it. Directed by Tim Burton and released late last year, Wednesday is a spin-off of the beloved franchise known as The Addams Family. I never really got into it. I believe my parents did, especially my mom's side. But even without any knowledge of The Addams Family, it's a gateway into their franchise. And boy, what a gateway it was. The show follows the character of Wednesday Addams. Wednesday gets sent to Nevermore Academy after trying to get revenge on Pugsley's bullies, in typical Addams fashion, of course. From there, well, things get a lot crazy. She discovers new faces and new foes in this city called Jericho, a place where outcasts and normies go hand in hand. Wednesday is not the one for rules and authority, but when one of Nevermore's students gets murdered at the start of the new semester, justice has to be served, with the fate of the town and the outcasts at stake. Although this series does have typical slices of life and comedy moments thrown here and there, the show is really amazing with how they balance out their humor and their serious tone. What really will get you from episode to episode, besides the little moments of calm, is the storm of the mystery itself. I'm not usually into mysteries. I mean, I played Danganronpa and it was fun solving the murders in the game. And, yes, I love Danganronpa. Come at me, cringe lords. But after watching this, holy hell, the mystery in Wednesday blew me away faster than Monokuma's executions. Each episode is a twist and turn where if you watch this for the first time, you will be in for a wild ride. And towards the last few episodes, especially towards the final episode, expect a lot of left turns coming out of left fields. This show does a lot of that towards the ending. It's like there's this constant build-up after build-up that makes you want to crave and rave for more. I'm not gonna spoil it for those who haven't seen it. Which, you should, by the way, it's pretty good. But let's say Wednesday starts to develop her character a bit more, making these build-ups more and more impactful due to the rising stakes of the eventual big bad. Even with the thrills, chills, and spills of the mystery, there's a unique charm and style that the show presents itself in, and that's what makes me keep coming back for more. Like, for example, the design of Edith and Wednesday, for instance. These two being polar opposites is the hallmark to the series, to the point where their dorm window became an icon of their great dynamic, which became a very big pop culture symbol in recent times. Because hey, opposites attract. But if details aren't your fancy, or the set designs don't tickle you, the presentation itself works to get people sucked into the world of the Addams Family. Tim and the crew really outdone themselves by making this both pay homage to the returning fans of the franchise, to welcoming newcomers who crave a little bit of Wednesday's dark macabre attitude, and some sick dance moves along the way. And I could go over every last nook and cranny in this creepy and kooky show, but take it from me when I say this, please go into this blind. Although, yes, I am making content relating to the world of Wednesday, whether it's like discussions or even more cosplay skits that I do, you have to see this to believe it. And if you guys saw it and love it as much as I do, then you'll understand why Wednesday has quickly become part of my identity. The characters, the thrilling mystery, and the ever-growing development of Wednesday and the charm of it all is what really makes me go back to the show a lot more, especially with its fandom. And as to why I love it so much, well, let's say that there's always that one thing that piques my curiosity. And this leads me to this. Never have I ever had something resonate with me this much on a personal level. Yeah, I said this. I want to work on Wednesday. But why? What do I mean? Well, that one thing that piqued my curiosity and why I love this show so much. Let's just talk about it for a little bit. And what better way to start this whole connection that I have with its world building? If I'm always pointing to one thing that I hope gets expanded on alongside Wednesday's character growth, it's the world building around the unique town of Jericho and Nevermore Academy itself. Particularly, the struggles between the outcasts and the normies. Now I know the show is focused on Wednesday herself. I mean, it's in the title, of course she's the subject. But after rewatching the series time and time again and focusing on the little details around the world, you start to see more of the world of Jericho than what meets Wednesday's eyes. Throughout the series, we see a variety of outcasts with their own unique crooks, like Enid Sinclair, the colorful K-pop loving werewolf, which is one of my favorites, Bianca, the queen bee fencing siren, Ajax, the introverted Gorgon, and Eugene, the favorite bee-boy of the hive. There is some more characters like Xavier, Davinia, and Yoko, but all of them have their own exceptional characteristics, and with the ever-growing diverse nature of Nevermore Academy, it makes it feel like everyone who is different in society feels right at home here. Each of them have their own unique problems, and those problems are due to their differences in who they are, and it's often portrayed as a negative. You got examples like family issues like Enid being unable to wolf out to her family pack, and Bianca with the cult tarnishing the siren's name thanks to her mother. And you got other factors too, like Ajax's own insecurities about himself and the world around him because of him stoning people, including himself. They learn to accept these differences, and it's what makes them who they are. Now this sounds crazy how I relate to them with my autism, but with these diverse outcasts, and with some of them acting differently from the norm, although these characters are not confirmed to be autistic, though you can make a theory about that, which is another day, another video, but it made me resonate with them because it made me feel like that with my autism, I was one of them. Now, for those of you who are unaware of what autism is, I can't really explain it in the most simple terms because autism is a spectrum. Some of them range from like low functioning to high functioning to like differences and all that stuff. It's really hard to pin down one exact definition, but if one thing's for certain, there's a common theme that goes around this entire spectrum, and that is our issue with social skills. I highly recommend checking out the episode of Arthur called When Carlo Met George to learn more about it in the practical sense. Braine's whole astronaut arriving on another planet with no manual example still holds up to this very day. I'm not gonna go into too much about it, but I can summarize it up in just this simple phrase. I am different, I act different, and honestly, I am built different. Just take away my social skills and amp up those awkward factors, and there you go. You got us autistic people. Now this is just basically scratching the surface of like everything, but my past and how I came to find my talents was all thanks to this, and I can't believe I'm saying this. This is gonna be really personal, so get ready for what I have to say. I was diagnosed on the mild side when I was really young, and during my childhood, before first grade and all that, I never really had a good, youthful childhood during my first few years of my life. I was all around schools because my case was very unique, and this was before we had a lot of support, like before autism was like more and more accepted. Like way back in the past, autism was still this whole thing that's still developing and all that, and we never really got a lot of support in the school system. You could make the argument that we are getting better as it goes on, considering I grew up with the system, but back then, support for it was awful. Very, very few people understood what I was going through. Now this changed from when I was continuing elementary to high school and all throughout college, but again, I didn't have a real normal experience growing up with like that prior to first grade. I had to learn social skills a lot, and growing up that was a struggle, and to this day as an adult it still is a struggle. Don't get me wrong, I love to be sociable, I love to talk to people, I just love to be out there, but I still get times where I'm awkward and I can't express my emotions correctly, leading to these awkward situations. Like certain social situations, if I'm not, like, how you say, if I'm nervous enough, sometimes I just info dump like everything that happened, talk really, really fast, and I can't convey that feelings of like that well, because again, I can't really grasp the concept of like some expressions. Now you might think, oh, autistics can't feel emotion. Well, if I'm gonna be honest, we do feel emotion, just 10 times more. And the feeling of not being able to convey and express your emotions and all that, especially as an adult, really just makes it harder on ourselves to get that, because we do feel, it's just we can't regurgitate it that well. And one of the traits that is most common to us autistics is our behaviors. We don't really know how to regulate our emotions that well when things don't go our way, nor do we express them. It's one thing that we can't really recognize facial expressions or social expressions or body language and all that stuff, but it's another thing entirely where you get us trying our best to express ourselves, but we don't really regulate those feelings that well. For my case, and this is gonna be something that you guys might laugh, but I was a crier. I cry at little things, I cry at big things, and I cry. And you may think, oh, were you being repressed to suppress that emotion and all? It's just, no, not at all. Yes, I did have that mentality growing up that it's some big conspiracy just to hide away my sadness and be an emotionless husk. The truth is, I had to learn to cope and regulate these emotions that well. And this isn't just sadness, this could be regulating my anger, my happiness, my joy, the whole 9 yards. You gotta learn how to use those coping skills and mechanisms and express your emotions in a way that it's regulated enough that you behave normally. These huge problems and all that stemmed from me when I was in elementary school, and I learned over time to regulate them. Like, when I lost a lunchbox, I don't make a temper tantrum, I just make it back and design instead of moping around, nor escaping. Fun fact, that actually happened once. Got a low grade? Well, instead of crumbling up that test and just throwing it down on the ground and just stomping around, you just go with the flow. Breathe in and out like I always do. And there were others too, like taking slang too seriously and all that, eye contact, which was a big factor growing up. And there was often the times where I get heavily disorganized, which was an issue, but it's more or less our system and all that stuff, so I really didn't mind at that time. Over time, I learned to build up these skills, and I impressed a lot of my people, including my district's own special ed department. By the time middle school comes, I was mainstream, but not mainstream enough. You see, there was this high school that I was aiming at for a long time because they had a program that I want to get into. But they don't offer the same special needs supports that I have back in the district. They're just more general special ed type stuff, not the in-depth involvement that I got growing up. And they had a really great video program, the kind of ones that I want to be a part of, and Growing up, I always loved to do that type of thing. During my years in middle school, I learned more about IEPs and my disorder in general, to the point where one day I just had enough and just say I wanted to be normal. But here's a tough lesson. You're not gonna get rid of something that you grew up with. You're not gonna get rid of what you were born with. You gotta learn to adapt and play hard. I came to accept who I am, and to this day I'm still learning to accept who I am as it goes on. But back in the day, I had to accept my faults and decided to tackle my biggest self-advocacy mission yet. I learned how to be more sociable, be more out there, not just the introverted self, but trying to learn how to be extroverted as well, trying to balance out the two. I became interactive and utilizing my quirks to my advantage. And with these, I hit every single IEP goal that allowed me to go to that high school. And I did it. I hit that high school. I went there for 4 years of my life. Not just that too, I learned to become more emotional, more empathetic, and at times, more of a team player with some leadership skills down on my belt. I mean, if it wasn't for me just accepting who I am and learning more about my disability and just learning more about social settings and all that, that I might as well do as an adult now, I wouldn't have gotten that far. And because of me going on to high school, I just decided, you know what, I might as well go to college in New York City. And I did that too. And it was still a tough challenge, like going from the middle school with a lot of special needs programs to get me where I am, to high school with limited ones, to just college without anything, just to learn on my own. I have to say, I managed to impress myself in more ways than one, and that's just coming from me. It's not just adapting to these social skills and utilizing them. Autism has made me more imaginative and crafty at times. And that's just another trait that I want to talk about. We are all detail-oriented and very, very creative. If you want to know why I love video editing so much on this channel, this is what keeps me going. Growing up, I always have a knack for television and video games, and it's always so fun to pick out the details from video clips and just create some story based on that, or look into the missing details that paint a bigger picture from said clip. Whether it's like Super Mario 64 type memes or just making some random YouTube poop, I guess that's what it's called, YouTube poop, from like a show where I just put like a bunch of Sony Vegas effects in there. Yeah, I remember those days when I got started with that program, and I still use it on occasion, but now I'm running Premiere Pro and learning Avid, as you can see over there. I mean, technically I always wanted to create something new with the original source to make it something their own, their like own story. It's kind of like fan fiction once you think about it. Then when I got this camera, which was my first HD camera, mind you, I started to create little movies of myself and actually gained a YouTube presence on there. Although not really much, like 100 subscribers, 50 subscribers, I guess you could say that's big in child terms, but yeah. When my camera came along, you know what I had to do. I shoot and edit my own little short films. And when you edit these like little things and all that stuff with my creativity and detail orientation skills thanks to it, you kind of got yourself a story. You just pick out the parts, add some like wacky effects, details, sound effects and all that, and there you go. You got yourself a little story. And that's why I love being behind a computer just to edit these types of videos. It's kind of like their own little puzzle, piecing together this little thing that this puzzle itself is a story. Being a pick of small things really makes me enhance my quality of work, because I don't want to leave no stone unturned, and with my love for this, I want to make sure that my creation is as perfect that it needs to be. This whole thing became powerful tools for my self-expression and communication, allowing me to connect with others on a deeper level. And with my videos and knack for storytelling thanks to programs like Premiere Pro and Avid, it actually gave me a sense where I can express my emotions the way I want to continue telling the story, but express them just by tugging on the heartstrings of people. And recently, with me getting back into my cosplaying self back in the day, I would never really thought to see those skills translate well into styling wigs and thrifting pieces for a screen-accurate outfit. And just recently, learning how to create a piece as part of a cosplay that I wear that most people haven't really heard of. If you thought my tangent about editing videos and picking out details was one thing, you got me fixing Enid's wig to become screen accurate with all like the highlights that I use for the dye and trimming Wednesday's wig so I can see better at night. Or this skivvy from the Wiggles that I had to get these lines like, but they ain't perfect, but it gets the job done. So when I think of autism, I don't think of it as a disability. I think of it more as a powerful asset to the creative world. I mean, if we do like this just to make our autistic expressions known, then there's no limit to the possibilities that we can accomplish. However, despite all that, I wasn't immune to hate. While I made smiles and a lot of friends with my talents and charm thanks to accepting who I was, back then, I didn't want to accept my differences for a brief period of time. That's kind of like why I mentioned that little thing about IEPs and all that stuff. For a brief period of time, I wanted to be a normal person. I wanted to be like them and just be like the rest of society. And this made me realize something. And I'm going to bring it up just because this helps a lot to connect with what I'm saying. There was a podcast I listened to and watched called The Squeeze. It's this mental health podcast by Tay and Taylor, which one of them was from Twilight. I don't know, but I kind of digress. On one episode, they had the actress that played Enid, Emma Myers. Emma is literally an icon and one of the most genuine people out there, and that's coming from a person that literally cosplays the character that she plays. But anyway, on this podcast, she discussed her life before the show and her brief venture into dance, which was literally the worst period of her life. Emma got constantly bullied and berated for how she acted and her being different from the rest of them. Like, if you've seen a lot of interviews and all that, she's a gamer, she likes Zelda, Phoenix Wright, Attack on Titan, and all that stuff, which I resonate a lot because I'm also a gamer as well, but still, they berated her and bullied her just for being different. And we only know them from their public outward-facing image. We don't know what they are going internally. And to hear how rough she got it with dance and all that, and just almost giving up acting before pursuing this show thanks to it, I actually do relate to her. The image that we do not want to be left out and we want to conform to society thanks to this whole bullying thing is just immunity. Like, we all want it to be like that. Be an image that we don't want to. Just so we can eliminate the hate that we have going on with ourselves. It's what makes peer pressure. And it's a reality that drives toxicity, whether it's social media, drama in the workplace, or worse, family. After hearing all that, it made me harken back to the times where I grew up and got trashed because of who I was, thanks to autism, and the ways that autism made me do stuff. And because we act differently from the norm and all that, you can probably imagine where this goes. When I was developing verbally in part of all this, I had a speech impediment and struggled to pronounce my R's correctly. To this day, I still have that issue that YouTubers and TikToks love to point out from time to time again. And unfortunately, growing up, this led to a lot of teasing and bullying from some of my classmates, especially in middle school. I got that the worst. Like, I remember my 7th to 8th grade years vividly where I got this bullying, and it's like one of those like new best friends and all that, but they're not really best friends, they're just snakes behind your backs and all that, so... And it made me learn to stand up for myself. Like, for example, every lunch, these new best friends allow me to invite them to their table and just say, "Oh, say a rabbit," and I mispronounce it as rabbit. They all laugh in my goddamn face. And they just want me to keep repeating those like different R words all the time and just laugh out loud. Every time I misspoke rabbit, they laughed. At first it was fun. Well, I thought it was fun because I was happy to be around them, but oh my goodness. Then I realized the back talk behind my back, and it really hurt my feelings so much to the point where I can't really express my sadness any longer. Something has to change. And when I contacted the teachers and all that stuff, they failed me on that point, so I had to stand up for myself. Yes, I am different and all that stuff, and I made it known. Especially since they also talk about my interests too, like being hyperfixated on one thing, which they thought it was like, oh, that's not normal and all that. Like, that's just who I am. They downplay, even mocking how I speak different and refusing eye contact alongside these interesting things and all that I'm hyperfixated on. That's just, it's horrible. It's horrible growing up with this. Once I stood up to them, they excused me for being emotionless, which was not true because you can tell that I was raving with all of emotion in my body. Eventually, I got my entire class to support me, and these best friends, these new best friends, well, let's just say, they're not doing very well. Unfortunately, this trend of fake friends continued into high school, though it's quite minuscule. Like, I could count on my top of my hands or fingers. That's how many fake friends I got, but this world really shouldn't want on making people's lives miserable, and we should cancel their negative energy and just believe in ourselves. Just accept people for who they are, despite their differences like who they act, what they act, and anything else for that matter. When Emma came onto the podcast, she discussed the show and her own life, and she managed to overcome her bullying. And it was very inspiring, and I have a lot of respect towards her for it. To hear the person sharing the same struggles I have growing up is really enlightening, and how she overcame it, the same way I overcame mine, it reminded me of the power that we all possess in this world. The power to become accepting of who we are, and just canceling out their negative hater vibes and all that stuff. I know that sounds like Gen Z lingo and all that, but to be honest with you, that's really the case here. We have to learn to accept ourselves and just block out the haters. Even if it means dabbing on them like Jake Paul did back in the late 2010s, but we don't talk about that era. That era of YouTube is weird. I still get hate now and then, whether it's like something that's totally different, like wearing my Enid Sinclair cosplay to see the Mario movie, which, yes, that actually happened, which I don't get why, but really, that's the thing that we're gonna hate on. But in that period, I overcame it, and I keep doing what I do best. And as an autistic, being able to raise my voice and stand against my ground not only made me more powerful, but it further made me accept who I am. And to Emma Myers, hats off to you. Hats off. Like, I applaud you. Thank you for making me inspired as I still continue down this journey towards my life. But that was my story and relating to some actress that I look up to. But how is this really relevant to the entire show of Wednesday? Well, let's dive back more into the show. And forewarning, if you thought my story was one and done, well, hang on, because you're gonna see a lot more rough stuff. And I don't mean like anything light, I really mean hard hitting, heavy. Like, please don't take this lightly. In the show, especially in the first half, we see a lot of pushback from the outcasts, especially Nevermore Academy itself. Why this entire school? You see, when Wednesday first moved in and those killings started to pop up all around Jericho, what was the first place to lay the blame? Nevermore Academy. And who? The outcasts. This whole victim blaming, scapegoating, and these targeted campaigns at these outcasts are so in sync with the world building going for it. Considering once you look at the past on why Jericho was founded and the story of Goody Adams going toe-to-toe with Joseph Crackstone, this outcast versus normie tension is the hallmark of the series. It is something that we fans want to see develop, and it is what I want to see more of after Wednesday's character growth throughout the first season as she saves the school alongside her newfound friends. But I want to ask this question as well. Do you know who else uses these tactics of victim blaming, scapegoating, and targeted campaigns to smear us and take away our voices? Our own real world. We still see this happen all throughout history, and sadly we still see this to this very day, over us humans being different from the norm. Take for instance the recent rise of attacks on the LGBT community. That is just sickening. I could say this runs alongside that, and you'll be 100% right, that is true. For us autistics, on the other hand, LGBT or not, there is something worse at play here that most people don't really recognize. I believe there's a saying out there that someone said that autistics and neurodivergent people are the most misunderstood humans on the planet. If there is, I can really agree with that, because not only is it not a physical disability, but it's more inside of us. There's people who claim to be aware, but don't understand the underlying issues that we face on a day-to-day basis. Because, truly, no one knows or understands us. Let's take a look at the episode that does a surface dive into this idea that actually does a pretty good job at world building. Episode 3, or as it's titled, Friend or Woe. As you know, the town of Jericho and Nevermore Academy has a pretty tense relationship, so much so that the city's government and their mayor hosts Outreach Day in partnership with Nevermore just to ease the tension between the outcasts and the normies.
Keep in mind though, this was actually all Nevermore's idea, especially with Reams overseeing everything. And while yes, this does seem great on paper, to Wednesday, she has gone the distance in terms of her investigation. As it turns out, Wednesday gains knowledge of the town's past, mainly the founder, Joseph Crackstone. Now, Crackstone loathes every outcast, and during his time, he wanted them all dead. He is a bloody extremist to the core. This is the case when Wednesday was going undercover at Pilgrim World for her outreach assignment, to which she dug so deep she landed a vision of Goody Adams trying to escape with the rest of the outcasts under the tyranny of Crackstone's actions. Said actions include burning down where the outcasts are. In order to drive the point home, she had to play along with Nevermore Academy's own ceremony, to which she and Thing helped burn down the statue of Crackstone, which led to a lot of scolding and confrontation with Principal Weems, with Wednesday trying to get her to hear her out. So to summarize everything, Wednesday uncovers the founder's hatred, witnesses Goody Adams' escape attempt along with the slaughtering of the outcast, causes a scene at the ceremony, and confronts the principal about Nevermore Academy's deception, leading to conflict and revelations. Now this is sort of like a brief Cliff Notes or Reader's Digest version of the events that happened in the third episode, but that raises the situation of what I said before. People who claim to be quote-unquote aware, but don't understand the underlying issues and gravity of the situation that minorities like myself face. So how do I compare that with that phrasing? Well, think about Nevermore Academy for a moment. A place that, despite its acceptance and outreach of everything relating to the outcasts, they start to slip through the cracks with some of its facade. They fail to truly learn from their own history and to address the underlying issues. Now, I use the term facade loosely here because, as we see through the actions of the principal, there is something worse at play that she and the rest of Jericho are not realizing. Whether she is aware of the past or not is up to interpretation, but the fact remains that Wednesday saw through the facade. This situation completely parallels what we observe in real life with organizations that claim to advocate for a minority group, but end up going in the complete opposite direction, exhibiting in some cases outright hatred. One example is the LGBT Alliance, an organization that focuses on lesbian, gay, and bisexual rights, but has faced a lot of criticism for their exclusionary stance towards transgender individuals. Despite presenting themselves as a supportive entity claiming that they support trans people, their actions speak otherwise. Just as Nevermore Academy revealed its hidden flaws, the struggles faced by autistic individuals in society that we face often go unnoticed and unheard of. And believe it or not, we do have that fair share of organizations in this community. In fact, more so than ever because of their power and influence. In a world where organizations claiming to champion minority groups sometimes fails us, it's crucial to shed light on the challenges autistics face and demand genuine understanding and acceptance. History does play a part in this.
Whether it be from the past or the future, or just even the present, no one really understands us. Throughout my entire life, I've seen a lot of mass misinformation about us that leads to everything going on about this. I am tired of that, because I want to live in a world where people would just listen to us for once in their lives. Speaking about misinformation, while we do receive a lot of help from the Autism Self-Advocacy Network and other smaller organizations that cater towards autistic people like myself, we don't see these organizations pop up a lot. And this leads to our voices being ignored. You can thank Autism Speaks for that. After getting so many more friends in high school and university that are neurodivergent, I am still in absolute shock to see my struggles as an autistic person still go unheard of. And with this big group, in quotation marks mind you, this is of great concern. For an organization that claims to be the voice of autistic people, they are the most hypocritical and the most destructive organization I have ever witnessed in my lifetime. To begin, what's the first thing you hear of when you hear of the term autism is a disability? You might think it's a cure that we all need to treat and just to cure ourselves from it. I can tell you this much, there is no cure to curing autism. Autism Speaks' approach has been centered around fighting this medical cure that views autism as a tragic condition that needs to be eradicated or cured. This perspective not only fails to acknowledge the strengths and unique experiences of us autistic individuals, but also contributes to a stigmatizing narrative that reinforces exclusion and marginalization. Also, how can there be a cure if we walk, talk, and even act like our fellow neurotypicals, for instance? If we act the same way as them, all because of that label, Why do you stress on needing a cure? It doesn't make any logical sense. It just fuels the spread of underground hatred for us living our own lives. And would you believe that a significant portion of their budget has historically been directed towards finding a cure instead of social services that help us out? Yeah, instead of helping us out with programs and education just to get more knowledgeable about ourselves and this entire spectrum, they continue to pull money for a non-existent cure, which I'm sorry to give tough love to those that still support it, ain't gonna materialize anytime soon because it's all one big fat lie.
I can easily get more and more into this, such as them creating campaigns which treat autism as this huge disease that ruins the lives around them.
I work faster than pediatric AIDS, cancer, and diabetes combined. And if you are happily married, I will make sure that your marriage fails. Your money will fall into my hands, and I will bankrupt you for my own self-gain. I don't sleep, so I make sure you don't either. I will make it virtually impossible for your family to easily attend a temple, birthday party, a public park, without a struggle, without embarrassment, without pain. You have no cure for me.
Even worse when you have parents promoted by them who want to kill their kid because of their autism. And Autism Speaks just promotes their ideology clear as day, like this.
I had sat in the car for about 15 minutes and actually contemplated putting Jody in the car and driving off the George Washington Bridge.
What?
It's only because of Lauren, the fact that I have another child, that I probably didn't do it.
You are a horrible parent. This isn't a one-time thing though. We constantly get new videos like this every so often. Why would people support this organization when they made it clear that it's not about some sort of cure, it's about our eradication of our will to live? And for what? Because we are different and that we all live on this entire spectrum? F that noise, bruv. Oh, and quick update as I was editing this. The mother that I showed that wanted her autistic daughter to die? Yeah, turns out she's the former vice president of Autism Speaks. Her name was Allison Singer. And I am not making this up, you can look it up yourself, but I just thought I want you guys to know about that. I wasn't making that eradication out of hyperbole. If this is what you hire, and this is what they said, then that is a major red flag right then and there. It's clear as day and it's clear as crystal. They never once cared about autism, and they never once cared about us.
I heard that they make plans to change every time, but they haven't changed. They haven't changed. They are free to keep making content claiming that they fight for us, but their actions truly speak otherwise. As this huge organization that constantly keeps ignoring our pleas, their cause is nothing more than a deterrent. A deterrent for me, and a deterrent for the rest of us autistics roaming around in this world. Our stories are just not the general one that they promote, like they villainize us to be. We are individuals on a spectrum. We don't need awareness. We just need acceptance and respect like any other normal person would. There is hope though. A lot of more people are coming out against them, and even more autistic organizations that are hearing us out are keep popping up. Take the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, for instance, that I brought up. It's great to have a voice, and I want to see these organizations grow and flourish to become what they are today. Just drown out the vial that Autism Speaks puts out. And it's because of them that a lot of misinformation keeps going on. But it also gets 10 times worse, and it's not Autism Speaks' fault for this. It kind of happens alongside them, but this is a bigger thing. Stereotyping. I'm sure you're all aware of the meme trend that happened recently based around the show The Good Doctor. Or maybe you haven't heard of The Good Doctor. Maybe you heard of Saya's music movie, for instance. Why would I bring two pieces of media up for this? This is the basis of stereotyping. You see, stereotyping is a lot like an idea of generalization, classifying one common trait and just shoving it all into that one group. Like and I can't believe I'm saying this, how people say Twitter is the main problem in social media and society when no, it's a general social media problem. Any problem that Twitter has, you can apply it to something else. Like I see it a lot on YouTube, Insta, whatever. That's generalization in a nutshell. However, with autism, it's taken it up to 11. Over-exaggerating details, reinforcing misconceptions, and above all, it creates a distorted viewpoint that leaves an imprint on society. This isn't just like a generalization on an idea. This is about us, and stereotyping people, generalizing them over lack of research and ignorance is really what leads to like everything. It leads to a lot of like pushback against us, and it's thanks to the media not hearing us out. To put it lightly, or to put it in a better example, so to say, imagine if you're painting a picture and you're painting with a single color brush. It's this monochromatic view that highlights everything wrong with us. It's not complex or colorful in that case, it's just bland. It showcases everything wrong. It's just that one shade that most people look into and say, yep, that's what they are. Time to hate on them forever and just ignore them through the end of time because, oh no, this is how they act. It's this one-sided story that everyone knows, and because of that, it puts us on the sidelines. They ignore our own voices, and again, with autism being on a spectrum, people still look at us as one and the same, and that's still upsetting. Like, I apologize for like my tone and all that, but this is, still saying this to this day really makes my blood boil. In the case of Saya's music, there was a lot, and thanks to her lack of research on the matter, and making this autistic character downright dehumanizing, and not to mention a joke as well, it's got to the point where the actress broke down in tears during production, and I don't blame her one bit. I don't blame her for breaking down. It stems on ignorances on Saya's part, and yes, while she has been diagnosed with autism, that doesn't take away the criticism I like to throw at the movie. Combined with the fact that she also downplayed the criticism of autistic actors and that they are not good actors, spewing it out on Twitter in and of itself, do you now see why that it is harmful? The kicker? Most of the criticism came from us. Again, our voices are going to waste, and now with the rise of criticism going towards the good doctor, with similarities now in parallel to music, we need to shift focus to the wider picture. Us. And it's those types of factors that motivate hate attacks. Like, do you guys remember the Pilgrim Rule bullies in the show? Whether it's from Wednesday at episode 1 and how they treated Eugene in episode 3 to the whole prank during the Raven, the episode after that. Are you starting to see why I'm comparing this to the show, especially why I feel like I'm an outcast sometimes? It's because of these things. It's because that these attacks stem from those ideologies. It's why those Pilgrim Rule bullies act like the way that they do. If that's not enough, do you start to understand more and more about how the authorities always scapegoat Nevermore because of the murders and everything else going on? Are you starting to see the bigger picture yet? Of why this is and why I feel like an outcast? And comparing the outcast on the show to our real world experiences? That's why I'm bringing these types of things up. It goes parallel, and that's what I said. It goes parallel to what we face in the real world. The parallels here are scarily accurate, and it's hitting too close to home, and it's just, I honestly need to address that in the room. It's really accurate.
There's also one more thing I like to touch upon, and since we're now getting back into talking about the show, besides this whole overall connection that I'm making, I think it's about time to discuss episode 5, Parents' Weekend. Why bring up this episode in particular? Well, if you thought the video I showed earlier where one of the mothers wanted her autistic daughter to die as a murder-suicide, just wait, because this is going to get so much worse. So episode 5. Episode 5 did touch upon some characters and why they act the way that they do, especially with Bianca and Enid. Bianca avoiding confronting her wakeful mother about her morning song cult, and Enid too, which goes a step further. Emotionally manipulative, Ezra Sinclair, Enid's mother, surprises her with brochures of werewolf conversion therapy camps. This is so Ezra can finally fulfill her pleasure of forcing Enid to wolf out instead of embracing her difference. It was brought up multiple times in episode 1 that Enid has gone to multiple therapies and camps because of her inability to wolf out, and it is heavily implied that it is through family pressure from the pack itself, and she brings up the risk of being a lone wolf. He doesn't go beyond that, but from what I can infer and sense, these methods they used were not the best. Episode 5 reinforces that hard as Enid continues to develop her character. And a lot of people theorize that Ezra sending Enid off to these werewolf conversion camps is some sort of like connection to LGBT conversion camps where it's a last-ditch and nuclear effort that hateful people use to forcefully detransition people on the LGBT spectrum. For me, it's more on par due to the recent trends when dealing with autistics and dealing with how to correct their behavior. And that is sadly shock therapy. Yes. And this is no oversight or some joke. This actually is happening. shock therapy for autistic people is a real thing, and it is downright cruel. The basis of this changing behavior tactic to better mask themselves is by shocking them. And if they act out of line or deviate, their shock device goes off. To better articulate what I'm saying, do you guys ever hear the story of Andre McCollins? Because here's his story. Andre McCollins is a young man with autism who was subjected to shock therapy. He was shocked multiple times as punishment for his behavior, causing him to suffer physical and emotional trauma. Yes, deviations from the norm. If he deviated, that's a shock. This is similar to the way that conversion camps are used to try to fix LGBT individuals. This case of Andre McCollins is a tragic reminder of the harm that shock therapy can cause to us autistics. Worst of all, this is legalized. Again, I am not joking. This is legalized abuse that is happening. As of this moment, there is no federal law saying that this is illegal and is being used in various places, including Judge Woodbrook Center in Massachusetts. And yes, that is where Andre was when he got that type of treatment. Various autistic people and autistic content creators have called to stop the shock, and I totally agree with them. We gotta stop this. And the good news is, we are winning. According to the Autistic Self-Advocacy Group, this decade-long movement to stop the shock is getting a lot of traction, and that Congress is considering it for its FDA amendment to stop this once and for all. The bad news, people still support this legalized abuse. Like, why? If torture is a cure for autism, when these autistic people like myself are standing today being proud of who they are and how they act, then it's not a cure. It's a death sentence waiting to happen. And it's a death sentence I do not want to be a part of. You can't change humanity's differences. That is a known fact. Changing ourselves through the pain of shock as a last-ditch effort means you do not care about the lives of others and the lives of us. Furthermore, it means you are unwilling to appreciate the value of humanity's differences and the value of life in general. There are better ways to correct behavior like us. And by shocking them, inflicting pain, that is not correcting. It's harming their right to live and how they want to live. Why is this world so cruel? Unfortunately, even if we were to solve all these problems, it still wouldn't be enough. Especially if you are in adulthood, like me. Because of that, it is unfortunate that discrimination against autistic individuals still exists in many areas of society, including the workplace. Thanks to all these issues, it's the reason why this whole treating us like trash thing still exists in this world, and it's mind-boggling. One example that comes to mind is when one of my friends, who was on the autism spectrum as well, applied for a video editing job. They were very qualified for the position and had a very, very impressive portfolio. But once they disclosed their autism in their application, everything that they have done was thrown in the trash. And it's thanks to these issues. It's disheartening to see that when they disclose all this, they don't even get a chance to showcase their skills because of discrimination and bias, all because they outed themselves. Like, this is the reason why people usually stay in the closet to begin with. I very rarely experience this, but I do see why it's this huge thing, and that's why I'm coming out here today, just to say, you know what, I'm autistic and I'm accepting of who I am and all that, and have this video showcase my editing skills and all that, and just tell you all about that, because we need to work towards creating a more inclusive and accepting society where everyone, regardless of their differences, has an equal opportunity to succeed. Talent drives the world, and we need these people to understand that we are worth it. Even if we disclose ourselves sometimes later down the line, the damage has already been done, but let me and let us autistics prove that we can undo the damage. Let our talents not go to waste. My talent as a video editor is often ignored, and why? Well, as I explained in all this, that's the reason why. And if I showcase what I can do here, like my edits and all that, with everything that I have done, and with more down the line, because of society, that's why I feel like I am no difference to this outcast, and why I get treated like the way they do on the show. In the end, that's why I love the show so much. This sort of connection I have to the show through its world building and its ever-growing developing characters is profound. Again, never have I ever had something resonate with me this much on a personal level. I mean, sure, it's very typical that we all want to be on our favorite medium, our favorite shows, our favorite movies, whatever. I have those thoughts too. But because of that connection, that dream I have, and that dream I want to showcase, it's not out of personal pride. I want to be a part of the story that helps bring us people together. Us autistic outcasts and the neurotypical normies together.
So I'm not gonna sugarcoat this any longer. No more long waits, no more weird side tangents and all that. I'm just gonna say this completely upfront. So, I wanna work on Wednesday. I wanna work on the show's second season. This nerd from whatever, wants to work on this upcoming season of Wednesday as a person in the post-production side or production side, I don't know, preferably post. But I want to help edit this masterpiece of this entire storytelling and whatnot. Or if that doesn't work, help on set to bring the world of Nevermore Academy more to life than ever. Because these connections that I had and the connections that I shared with you and how they relate to the show, I want to be a part of that huge message of bringing outcasts and normies together to bring a unified world. And of course, the show's about Wednesday, but from what we saw during the first season and all that, the opening is there for outcasts and normies to become one, and I want to be a part of that story. I want to work on this show not just to learn more about the magic and to expand my knowledge of both editing and how everything comes to be, like shows and movies, how that little magic happens. No. I want to work on Wednesday to help enhance the story, to stop breaking down these barriers and challenging the biases and stereotypes we have, that these outcasts have, and to bring forth a more accepting world by contributing to its storyline of Wednesday Addams, in addition to expanding and gaining some knowledge and magic in the world of this industry. All of this is stemming from an outcast who is different from humanity thanks to their autism. This nerd. I'm not speaking for everyone here, but in this world we are living in, we need to show people that we are something that we are worth fighting for. We want the world to know that us neurodivergents are not some sort of like staple or some anchor to our community. We have the talent. I am me. Nobody else but me. A person that's dealt with wave after wave of this constant stereotyping, this constant negativity over something that I can't control and was born with to this very day. My neurodivergency, my autism, and above all, I accept for who I am. I am literally me. And I will prove all those naysayers wrong in society about all of us neurodivergent people. I want to prove all of them wrong and show that we have everything that the rest of society has.
My dream to become a part of the Wednesday project is to not only get my foot in the door, my dream is actually twofold. I want to give back and help out the show to the very end with its own unique world building and the themes of outcasts versus normies. And not just that, to recognize and prove that we as humans, despite our differences, have the talent like any other neurotypical folk. That is my dream. An autistic working on a show full of outcasts that kind of resonate to me and other people that I have met with diverse characteristics, that's something I want to join in on and want to see it develop, flourish to the very end.
This dream, this entire Wednesday situation that I can't just get my mind off. I want to work on Wednesday. And it's that dream after all I shared about my struggles and in the world that I faced alongside others. I am proud to admit that to all of you. I am proud to admit that I want to work on Wednesday, and I want to share that to the world. My career path is becoming the person in the world of post-production, and maybe in production as well, but post is my specialty, and I explained why I love to edit so much. Until then, I haven't caved into this negativity. And, truth be told, I persisted. And despite all that, would you actually believe I started this journey back in January? Because let me tell you, this entire chase that I have done, just to get my dream where it is, I have never felt this much accomplishments that I have achieved in my life, and I want to share that to all of you. I want to share what I have done to get to that dream. So here is sort of like my chase to that glory. By now, you heard so much about the show, and how much I gush over it, and how much I connect with it, not just through me, but through the outside world in general, and how I made those connections, pinpointed up to that show, and sharing my dream out with the world. Well, here's the thing. If I want that dream so bad, I gotta chase the dream. And let me tell you, this chase has been something, alright. I made a lot of progress with it, and that is not something I should really be lied about it. It's something that I'm really proud of. I never thought I would get this far in my dream and all that, and I want to share that off to you. It's funny that I mention it too, because let me tell you why I started this whole chase to begin with, and why everything about it, why am I gonna be so proud of it, because, and this is funny, I actually got my inspiration to chase this sort of like dream, all because of a certain YouTuber, and you're not gonna believe this, Jack's Films. In Jack's Films, how Jack's Films got to the premiere of the Emoji Movie was just making memes and praising it, like, oh my god. And it's like, at first I thought I wanted to do that, like just to meme up the show a little, get my cosplays back into gear, make those memes on those TikToks and there I go. But if I want to be a part of something that's magical and all that stuff, it's not through these like meme posts where Jack is like ironically praising the movie. I want to do this out of pure love, and looking at it from a professional business sense, yeah, I don't think memes are gonna be working out. Sure, memes are gonna be a part of it, but if I want to get involved in it, I gotta play ball with the professionals instead of like just like being an unknown memeing it up. If I want something done right, something done professional, I don't want to make this entire thing a joke. This is what I've been going for. And this whole journey began at the end of January. I was still browsing online for remote opportunities with editing and art until I was sort of at an impasse. Like, there's so little to go by that I just need help. Not just like help from family, but professional help, career guidance help. One night, the first step happened, and this was a step that I took, not just for me, but to get my career jump-started in a way. This first big step that made me came out of my shell, so to say, was a surprise email from my college's Career Services Center. After heavy consideration for the few days that I got it, I thought to myself, you know what, might as well just tell them about my situation and just basically say, I need help. And hey, might as well learn from the best. Like, these guys have been in the game for like a while, and if they can put me in the right direction, then I would utilize them to the fullest extent. I scheduled this meeting with one of my counselors, and I managed to learn this unique concept, which is honestly what I'm still doing to this day, and that is networking. That's, when I first heard about that, is something, because throughout most of my life, I learned social skills in the form of like friendly conversations, not like professional, but casual and all, like friendships and all that stuff. Like, hey, let's talk about this favorite thing that interests me and all that stuff. But never once in my entire life thought that I would have to use these and adapt to these new social skills, so to say, in like the most business and professional sense. Like, oh my goodness, this is like a whole new playing field. It's like a whole new language for me. And this is coming from me, who learned social skills because of their autism. This is, for the first time in forever, learning new social skills now in the professional world. After building up a network of connections virtually, I managed to score one-on-ones with professionals. And would you actually believe that it's the people that actually worked on Wednesday? Yeah, I know, this is like pretty surprising and all. Like, you wouldn't expect it, but I managed to score them and get some meetings out of them just to pick their brains on what to discuss and everything. Sure, it might be a fan's dreams come true to talk to like the people that worked on the show, but here's the thing. Sure, you might be a fan of a work, but you do not want to become like one of those like super fans, mega fans and all that. You might be a fan, yes, but in this world that you have to go by, it's business, and you do not want to show off as like being overzealous and all that, just like you want to go in and just say, hey, let me work on this. No. You have to build genuine relationships, and that is the basis for like everything. It's like, sure, I had to prepare myself and I'll get everything right with like all these index cards and questions that I may ask them and all that, but you want to know them genuinely. You don't want to use them. Now, this is funny because as a person with autism, you know that we love to be hyperfixated on things, and with these hyperfixations and all that, they imprint us throughout our entire lives. And if one thing piques our curiosity so much, so to say, it's like, you know what, this thing is our life now. The best way I can put this, and how my career counselors pointed out, is that you want to be interested in the position, but not too interested, so to say. Yes, I am a fan, but my main goal of me wanting to get into the industry is my prize, and this show is like, it's like a bonus prize to some game show, and you'll be lucky to score that, and I'll go over that later on, why this is like some sort of like bonus prize out of everything that I'm going for. But after hearing all of that, all those scripts, all those index cards, all those like preparations I did on the mirror, affirming myself and all that, I scored my one-on-one with one of the editors that made episodes 5 and 6. Now before this, I was genuinely nervous, and I don't often get nervous that much. Well, I often get nervous at some points, and we don't fare well to making stuff up on the fly. That's why I mentioned the whole preparation thing. But once I get through all that, I just said congratulations on getting through season 2, and this is where the whole picking brain starts. Like, you wouldn't believe this. I managed to ebb and flow into conversations, and that made a lasting impact. From our conversations to Wednesday, the industry, the pessimistic future thanks to our AI, our preferred editing software, and advice, and how to navigate the landscape as a newcomer, I made sure note of that I love the show, but not too much to a point, because all I wanted to know is how this whole industry works. I want to know how it's made, how it flows, how this whole post-production thing works. How did he edit this entire thing? How did the whole process work? How? It's not just what we love, it's more about the path that we want to go to. Yeah, if you're wondering why I keep mentioning how so much, it's because it's the best course of action that in order to learn fast on all that, you gotta focus on how it works and how it's made and how it flows within their workflow and all, and how this entire post-production thing fares into the industry. To see me apply this into a professional conversation with not just the editor, but the assistant editor, the executive assistant, and now with the VFX person I'm in contact with, I have to say, I made a great stride to mastering this. I wanted to know how they got the work that they got. I wanted to know how they got their mark. I wanted to know how they rose through the ranks. I know I'm saying this how a lot, but that's because you have to balance your love with your enthusiasm and just genuinely ask those hows and all that. By balancing this sort of like enthusiasm for the show with the genuine interest in the industry, your goal is to know the hows. Basically, and this is coming from my script, if you remember the hows, then you go, wow. I know it's some sort of like cringe statement, but take this to heart if you guys are networking out there. Yes, this is kind of like some advice I'm just throwing out there, but remember the hows and you go, wow. I really mean this with 110%, like balancing out those like tendencies and all that with your hyperfixations that I had to learn myself, because let's say I did make some mistakes along my way, and I mean we're all human here, don't get me wrong. As with any journey and all that, this chase, you sometimes have to make blunders, and it's human, it's our human nature, it's our blood, after all. Case in point, I managed to connect with an intern at one of the production companies that made the show. Not the two big ones like MGM and Netflix and all that, but some other small company that you guys probably haven't heard of. And I managed to connect with a development assistant back in February, and to put it lightly, I mentioned my interests a bit too much. Like, I gotta say, like, I know your position's close enough, but I am very interested in all that, including that I want to work on the show. To quote one of the messages I sent to them, I understand that internship applications are closed, but I was hoping to reach out to you to ask for any advice or contacts that you might have. If you know about any job openings, or if you could introduce me to anyone, I would be very grateful for your help. Yep, I begged for a job, so to say. So, take it from me, this is not something to just info dump on a person, and I know this is some sort of like cliche thing that I'm just gonna rip off from some show, but it's like asking which wedding cake you and your recent lover want on your very first date. It's, you kind of see what I'm getting at. Now, on the off chance that this person sees this, whether it's like a viral or whatnot, I want to say this, and this is coming from me to the heart. I am sorry. I apologize for my overzealingness and coming off across as too eager. I've learned a valuable lesson that from that big blunter, I learned the importance of focusing on the industry and the hows to go about it, and I did not mean to come off as like very, very much like a fanboy, but I'm very sorry, and I hope you accept my apology. I know it's not professional for me to do that, but it's just, I hope we can get a second chance down the line, and hopefully we can work together sometime down the line. Not just as fans on a show, but genuine professionals working together in this world. So yeah, that's this whole shebang about networking, but let's focus more on the present. Let's focus on the now than the past that I took that I'm still utilizing. Let's focus on the now. And that is my current internship. Once I mastered this whole networking game, I decided to take another big step towards my career to getting my foot in the door, and that is an internship.
I didn't mention this when I was recording this, but this is currently my second internship. My first internship was back when I was in college for my final year. And let me tell you, it's not the best, and it left a sour taste in my mouth.
In fact, I might just say I haven't completed that first internship. Toxic work environment, lack of accountability with the majority of the staff, and with no structure gathering to a person's needs, it is what made me jump ship. It's this whole bad thing. It's like everyone was being so cutthroat and nasty, and I do not want to be a part of that. It is so unsupporting that when I mention my concerns, including what I have towards them, they would just shrug it off and expect me to do a lot of things, ignoring my worth. And when I showed them my worth, that I was proven to be capable, I got trashed behind my back, and that is why, yeah, this is just, heck, I remember I even had a meltdown because of this. It's not that fun, and that's why I dipped and never came back to these like unpaid internships. With this unsupporting environment and constant disrespect I got, it's just, I did not want to have that to be the start of my career. I don't want to start a career off of toxicity. I want to start a career off right with genuine people, not some sort of like politics and toxicity that constantly just shafts a lot of people aside. So when I went to these like career counselors again, like I believe it was like my second visit and all that, I already have the tainted and sour experience. Like I mentioned to them that it's like unpaid slave labor. They suggested try again. This was a bad experience, and not all internships are like that. So I figured, why not? My portfolio is now a priority, so I guess it wouldn't hurt. So after putting it aside, focusing on a clear mind and knowing what my goals are, I just decided, you know what? Let's do this again. Let's clear the slate. Let's just go in. And I did manage to score another internship, and this was by far more welcoming than the last one. If I had the opportunity to do this again, I would. So I got this internship as a video editor for their video department. Everyone was so welcoming, so friendly, so helpful. And compared to my old internship, this was a breath of fresh air that I needed. This professionalism that I have been missing through all my life. And this is by far amazing. They were clear in like directions of what they were doing, and because of my autism, I had to let them know about it, and they were very, very accommodating to me. Like so accommodating to a point where they help each individual person out, and that is what I love, and that is what's missing in this world. This like helping hand if a person can't do something, and if a person needs accommodations and all that. That's what we're missing in this world. Like for instance, if I got some video assignment that I need to edit and it's confusing and all that, I run that through the president and director to get clear instructions, and just like, because of what I am doing and all that stuff, just like lay it out clear as day of what I should do. Like what are my first steps and all that. And they took their time out of their day to help me, and I'm like really thankful for that. Through time, I managed to prove my worth to them, and I proved my worth so much, I got even more video assignments, so much so that I even got assignments from other departments, and assignments that nobody but me could tackle. This is just impressive. Eventually, with all these big assignments that I have done, I managed to incorporate After Effects, which I never really thought I would use, but I learned a lot out of that. To top it all off, I got a leadership role as one of the directors in the department. And that is huge. Gaining this role has been an uphill battle. Like I remember there was a time where everyone was out for one of our meetings. And when I mean everyone, I meant the president, the senior director, and the director themselves. And we had to get a lot of stuff done. So, and I'm always the one for like to go with the flow, but you have to speak up, you gotta self-advocate, and you gotta make sure you sustain order. For a position that I had to get, it involves a lot of communication and cooperation, and I have to make that order sustain. So I already have some communication down my belt with the help of other departments, so I felt like, one shot at one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted, just like that one Eminem song. Would I take it or just let it slip? So I stood up, captured that moment, and led the meeting. And I believe I ran through 2 to 3 meetings when all of them are out, and this was like constant and all that. By the time the 3rd meeting came by, the president just like jumped in and all that stuff. He took note of my very detailed notes from this like huge video spreadsheet and whatnot, and it's like they offered me a position and everyone sort of agreed to it, and I just got on it alongside the other directors, and to this day I've been very thankful for it. Not only did I take detailed notes on this, but I managed to actually give out assignments and feedback from like new interns that I trained up and some old ones. I got some of these faces and names and just assigned them what they needed to get done based on their skill set and whatnot. And some of these skill sets and all, I managed to incorporate that into how I assign these assignments. Not only that, me and the president came up with a system where we categorized every video in each category, and we revamped the entire YouTube channel to base it around that, so that way other departments, if they want something for their projects based on like their little like category that they're doing, they just like pick it up and go. Now I mentioned that I sort of outed my autism, and it was a very recent occurrence too, mind you. They thought it was a good idea, and I thought it was a good idea to share my story to the world on their YouTube page, and helping promote diversity within the internship program. I said this before to the president, and it still rings true to any other neurotypical person out there, and it still holds true to this day. We can lead. We can take initiative. Sure, we may act differently, respond differently, and heck, we don't even do social situations right. But we can work. We can be on par with the higher ups. We can take initiative, take lead, and most of all, we have the ability and talent to work with high results, and throughout this internship, I experienced that. In all seriousness, if there was trouble in this internship, I was quick to respond. And to be honest with you, all my detailed oriented work with these videos, everything that I have done, everything that I have put forth into making them, and just helping out the community by and large to help sustain order, to get smooth sailing, and just overall improve our YouTube channel and everything else in this little company, I would say I am very thankful for all this opportunity, and I thank them for being so accepting and giving me a chance and all that. And if they are watching this right now, I would do it again, if I'm going to be honest with you, but the experience I got was very, very valuable, and I thank you for giving me a chance and the time out throughout this year just to showcase what I put forth, and I am very, 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 very honored to be a part of the team. Finally, to cap everything off, because although these two were the big benefactors of like everything going on, I had to learn something that I kind of put it off for a while because I didn't want to hear it, but it's this thing called being narrow-minded. Growing up, I myself have plenty of dreams, and there isn't nothing wrong with that. I hold this theory where no dream is ever unrealistic. Every dream is realistic. If you put forth time, effort, and all that stuff, you could really make your dream happen. And it's something that we all go for, the big cheese. It's something that we all want to be a part of, but there is a reason why I bring up this whole narrow-minded stuff to begin with. This is just for me, and this is just something that I have to accept. Sometimes you do have to continue to learn to pace yourself and learn to accept that sometimes you don't get the things you want in life. And this is funny, this is hugely ironic considering how far we got into this video. Like, it's rich coming from me, who literally just connected and shared my dream out with the world about this entire thing. But in all honesty, it's the truth. It's actually the truth. There's a reason why this is called the long game, and there's a reason why I brought up the whole marathon and speedrunning Mario segment to begin with, because I have to confront this truth. Honestly, as soon as I accepted that, I felt at peace for once, because when I hold on to that little narrow-mindedness, I got a lot of negative thoughts, and I was too fearful for the future, and I might have not showcased it outside, but on the inside, I was a lot more scared, nervous about letting people down and all that. And those negative thoughts stem from the idea of goals and how to get them. Recently, I've been tackling this program called Optimize Yourself. Now, Zach Arnold is an editor that worked on the show Cobra Kai, and he has a lot of history under his belt with editing, so he is the one to go to for, like, if you have any editing questions. But the most important thing throughout his career is just setting his sights on his goals and how to achieve them properly. And through Optimize Yourself, which is a program that I got into and all that, I have learned to set my goals properly. I have learned to play the long game, and most importantly, how to avoid burnout. I highly recommend taking his course if you are new to this entire thing. Not just through the industry, but in general. Like, if you have life issues, work-related stuff, or something else entirely, I highly recommend it. If it wasn't from those optimizer lessons that these people are reinforcing, I would have been way worse than I was back when I started this whole crusade. And I would have burned out a lot quicker and turned out to be a person that is honestly not what they want in the world. To this day, I'm still learning to overcome these obstacles and set new goals besides this one that lead to what I want to do, but this dream that I have, don't get me wrong, it's still there. But the main lesson that I want to take away from these like optimizer lessons and everything else is just, I might take this one step at a time. Well, not might. I have to take this one step at a time and focus on the small things that matter. Those small victories. Because, you know the saying, you won the battle but not the war? Well, this is the war. And I have to win these battles to win the war. It's a war that, to this day, I'm still fighting. With this mentality, I can build something better instead of just like throwing myself into the wolves with these negative thoughts on impulse. And that's why I needed to say this and accept this. But yet, you might be thinking to yourself, why am I doing this and saying that? Truth is, yes, my dream is still intact. Of course it is. But by acknowledging the situation, I can embrace the mindset of adaptability and open myself up to new possibilities. Why do you think I mentioned like the house to get into the industry in general? Instead of like just like lowering down everything. Why did I bring up this whole like lowering down your hyperfixation on the show? Well, it's because of this. Maybe there are alternative paths and avenues that I haven't really considered yet. Perhaps this one show is something greater. Like this one Wednesday show is like something that's leading up to like a bigger thing that I want to be a part of. Maybe it's closure that I'm making this video, just to get that out there. At the end of the day, I want my story. The story about how I grew up with autism, how I manage autism, and how I accepted my autism, and above all, learned to utilize my autism for something greater, to be out there with you guys. No matter if this dream of working on the show is of naught, we are still misunderstood in this world, and by sharing my story and all that stuff, I feel like that's a bigger impact alongside what I want to do with this like entire dream. Don't get me wrong, still want to aim for that dream and still want that dream to be spread around and the chance of me working on it, but if it's all for naught, then I want my story to be passed around with many people. I want these people to be inspired. I do want to go back to the Emma Myers The Squeeze podcast episode for a brief minute here because I'm sort of bringing this whole dream retrospective to connect with this entire like little tangent and whatnot. When Emma mentioned her Wednesday auditions and how she thinks she flubbed it up because of her chemistry read with Jenna, keep in mind, she went to auditions before. She had smaller roles in Hallmark movies and shows, for instance. During her first time acting in that dance, that's why she pursued dance for some time when she was young. Eventually, she wanted to try again, and she did take every shot and every opportunity. And well, look at where she is now. Just this recently, she landed a lead role in a BBC show. That is impressive. We should all take lessons from her. We should all take lessons from Emma and have faith, play the long game, and just don't cave in no matter what. If she persevered and she got where she is now, why should we? And more importantly, why should I? She never gave up. And hearing her story about taking every opportunity, despite her wanting to give up, is very motivating. I might as well say I'm starting to take notes for her as well. Minus the whole acting thing, but hey, the message is still the same after all. Moral of the story, just learn to take every opportunity, which is what I am doing if this Wednesday dream falls through. Even if the ultimate goal, this like big cheese of being on this show, was not to materialize, it doesn't diminish the progress I have made and what I have shared with all you guys. The skills I have developed and all that's not gone. That's still there. But if I got this far into pursuing this like dream, if it's for naught after all, even with the miles and miles that I conquered, if this gets canned, I just want people with my autism to know that we autistics can be great assets despite setbacks and all that. If I proved it all with this internship and now, why should I stop? If it wasn't for everything that I have done and everything that I have showcased here today, I can prove a lot of naysayers wrong, and after today, when this video gets uploaded, I probably did just that with my story alone. This chase, this everything, and it's just, well, I can't really have any other words to say at that point. We want a lot of people to know that us neurodivergents are successful, can be successful in this world, and we may not be socially adaptable. We may not be that much in the social skill side of things. We may be awkward, but we are hard workers at the end of the day. And we're proud of who we are despite these quirks. Wired differently? Yes. But a waste of human life in this world? No. Not at all. And at the end of the day, I am who I am. And I am proud of that. One of my connections said this to me as I was scripting this, and I agree with what she said a lot. She said that one of the favorite things about entertainment is its ability to bring people together, to broadly unite and inspire. I could say for certain that my love for this show and the connection I have made with it made me realize how inspiring the show is. Not only that, I found inspiration transferred over to me with other people. Some of these professionals even said that despite the challenges I faced thanks to my little autism, I never caved in. I'm not sure how this entire video fits into this equation, but if those same people watch this video now, I kind of say that I kind of proved my case. Not just proved this case as a one-time thing, but proved that us autistics can make it in this world. We can fight the same wars on par with our neurotypical pals, despite the differences we all have. So here's my call. Everyone who is watching this, please share this video around. You have my permission. My story of my struggles with autism and how society still treats me and others like this makes us no different from the outcast in the show. In fact, if you're a minority who is different from the norm as well, society still treats you no differently than the outcast, and that's sad. The outcasts are very diverse, and there's no changing my mind about that. And we need to embrace those differences if we want to make it in this world. Being different is not a crime. I am different and I am a human being. Why should we toss differences in humanity aside, like me with that for instance?
Now you might be asking, why am I doing this? Is this some sort of narcissistic tactic you cleverly devised? No. Despite the title of this video is a heartfelt expression of my passion, ambitions, and the impact that this show has on my career path. It has impacted me a lot. And ultimately, I want people to see my struggles as we autistics still get unfairly treated in society. By sharing my story and the struggles we autistics face with you guys alongside showcasing our talent, which I have done by editing this entire video with all these effects and stuff, I hope to inspire others who may be facing similar challenges. We are still in a time where we need to embrace and be informed on differences that humanity has. I want to show that no matter the obstacles we face, we can still chase our dreams and make a positive impact on the world.
And sure, you know what? Fine, part of that title still holds true. Wednesday is a show that I want to be a part of. It inspired me, made me connect, and more importantly, that no matter who we are as an outcast, we are still human. We only have one earth to live on and one life to live. We can't change what we're born with. I didn't choose to grow up autistic. It's something that I had to learn to embrace and to accept. But it's something that I am proud to admit because it's who I am. It's my identity. And because of that, we all need to spread that message of unity. Wednesday is my dream goal. But when I talk about this whole thing, this call to action that I'm making, it's not my call to work on the show. I want to make it known that it's a call for a change, a call for acceptance, and a call for equal opportunities for all. It's this call to challenge the stereotypes and misconceptions surrounding disabilities, including autism. It's a call that we are unique outcasts But with each outcast, we can bring something crafty to the table. Like me! An outcast that loves to stare at timelines editing this crafty video. And that video in question is that damn Netflix show that I am so hyperfixated on. And there's no stopping me there.
I have come to realize that my pursuit of working on Wednesday is not out of personal fulfillment, like I said, but about making a meaningful impact in the industry and in society as a whole. Autism is very much a spectrum, and with other people just still clinging on to these stereotypes despite us being unique with this, my voice often goes unheard of. From my dedication to improving my craft to the milestones I have achieved in my career ever since watching the show and throughout this year, let this be a showcase of what I have done. Let this be the showcase of my editing skills, my creativity, and my unwavering determination for the future. And let it serve as an example of what I can bring to the table if given the opportunity to work on this show that has touched my heart so deeply.
So let this video be a testament to what I have accomplished so far. I want my stories and my accomplishments to finally be heard, and my dream goal of Wednesday and what I have done to be heard as well. So to Netflix, MGM, the Wednesday cast and the Wednesday crew, other Hollywood creatives, Tim Burton, any other directors, whatever. Please listen. I humbly extend my virtual hand, urging you to consider the value that I can bring to the show. Let's connect, let's collaborate, and let's make incredible things happen. Sure, I may be different from the human beings in society, but I am still human enough to carry the tasks and torch for this project. I know this is honestly a big call that I am making here, but consider what I have done. This internship, everything I have done to be out there, just to be open. We autistics can make the effort, and we can lead and take charge, and more importantly, we are you. I am not like your typical fan, super fan, hyper fan, ultra mega fan, or anything like that. Although I do cosplay the characters from the show, that's not who I am. I am a fan that wants to learn more about the magic of post-production in the show and to enhance it long after it ends. Long after, so when I make my own projects down the line, despite what I have. And hey, if I don't get in, at least my story is out there to the general public. I'm always open to tackle any projects like these, so I am open to any other project. So, yeah. And to the Wednesday fandom, the Addams Family fandom, or if you somehow got caught in this little algorithm and you're an outsider, I ask you to share this video around, and I really mean it. You do have my permission. Share this video far and wide to the whole stretch of the internet. This whole bias thing with us needs to come to an end. This video in general is the proof that we have the talent, so please do share this around. I may be a video editor, but I am an editor with the brains to learn more. So to everyone, thank you for joining me on this journey, and for believing in the power of dreams. Together, let's make a difference. Because if I got this far with my internship in networking, then I have a lot of faith that you can do the same thing. Because the most regretful thing in life that you can do, and the most regretful move that you can possibly make, that will make your dream not come true, is by not playing the game of life. So share this around, let my voice be heard, and let's try to make something happen. Like, let's try to get me on Wednesday just to help promote their idea of like outcasts being together in society. We have the talent, and to work on Wednesday to help bring a better world is what I really want. So I want to work on Wednesday to help bring a better and united world. So thank you for taking the time to watch this, and hopefully I'll see you around sometime. And keep smiling.